Have you ever had one of those days? I had one like that yesterday. A while back, I made a fishing lure that I call the unknown lure. And I called it that because it had a kind of a familiar pattern, but nothing that seemed to be fish specific. It was just a really good looking lure. Couldn't tell exactly what it was though, but I didn't think the fish would care that much. And sure enough, they didn't care. I took this lure out, and this is the first time I'd ever used a lure that I had made and caught a fish on it. Pretty exciting because, to make a lure and catch a fish with it, particularly it's the first time that it's ever happened. So, great. About an hour later, I'm riding along, and I had been casting towards the shore because it's a pre-spawn, and this fish, just bit on it out of anger because, I just dropped it there and he hit it. But I was casting towards the shore, and for some reason, and embarrassingly, I cast it really, really far and really high, and it ended up here. Well, needless to say, it was hooked really good up there, and tugging and pulling as much as I could, I just decided I had to go for it and to see if I could pull it out of the wood. And of course, the string came apart before the lure ever let go, so the lure's still up there. Well, the unknown bait was really neat looking, so I think I'm going to try to reproduce it. So this is resurrection of the unknown.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Fortunately, I can save a little time because I have the original pattern that I made. I save all my patterns. I should mark them though, because sometimes I can't tell which one is which. Time for a new blade. And it's time to carve. New blade. Ooh, feels good. New blade and pine. Pine is very, very hard to begin with. It carves nice with a new blade. I've already taken down the taper on the belt sander. The more I watch people online, they use micrometers to get the taper and to do the carving, and they mark things off and they cut little lines and so forth. I find that I have a hard time working that way. Must just be the artistic wild man in me. I don't know. I just like to carve freehand, eyeball it. I can usually get it very symmetrical. I don't miss them much. And that's my way of doing it. Well, that sounded pretty arrogant. Humbleness isn't my forte. I guess my wife would tell you that. And 20 minutes later, from when we first drew it on the wood, we have a very symmetrical, asymmetrical, bilateral symmetry. That's the word I'm looking for. We draw a line down the middle this way or this way, and it's the same on both halves, both sides. And I would say it's pretty darn close, no matter which way you look at it. It's getting warm in here. I've got a old air conditioner over there, right there. You can tell it's old because it's brown. It was free from someone who got it free and then used it and then gave it to me for free. It's been in here a few years. Last year, it started to seem to not work too good. This year, it doesn't seem to be doing too much good. This is our first 80-degree day with fairly high humidity. And that thing really isn't cutting it. It's time to look in the free section on Craigslist again. The worst thing has happened about it though, but it's worth it. In the old one, I had put 4 holes and I'd put some ball bearings in them. I tried that, it worked pretty good. But I've got a new lead pot. And of course the lead is much heavier. So I think that what I'm going to do is put 3 holes that are shallower. And one is going to be centered at about the center of mass. And I'm going to put one just ahead of it and one just behind it. I'm going to want to try this in the pan of water to see how it floats after I put the lead in. But I need to seal it first. And I normally use sanding sealer, but super glue does a very, very good job, even though you have to sand a little bit after because it makes it rough. So a little super glue on here, it'll harden really fast, and that'll be the end of it. Lead pot's ready. Moment of truth. Lead, water. Very good, just about where I wanted it. See, it's just cresting the surface. That's good. Tilt it forward slightly. This is coming out pretty good so far. You just saw it in the water, and boy, the air conditioning seems to have gotten a second wind. I think it was just a little slow in the uptake. It's getting a little weak, but if I leave it running, it's pretty comfortable in here. Maybe I won't have to change it out. Get another year out of it. Anyway, as I was saying, got the lead filled in here, and it floats right about at this level. It's going to go down a little bit more when I put the resin on it, when I put the hooks on it. They don't add a whole lot of difference, but it does some. So, coming along good. Time for phase 2. What's interesting too is I started this about an hour ago. Not bad. Getting faster at this. Don't have to think as much. Probably make a lot more mistakes though. I also have a little blemish in the front. It's actually a little hole. That'll have to be filled with when I get the epoxy mixed. To put the eyelets in, I'm going to use epoxy because it's the strongest stuff to use. Then I'll screw that in, and that'll be good. It's quick dry epoxy anyway. It takes about maybe 10-15 minutes before I can get to it. As far as the filling the holes though, I'm going to go with the baking soda and super glue thing. So it'll dry quick, I can sand it down, I can get to painting. I was just thinking, if I had made the bill for this, I could have used this epoxy to glue it in. Now I'll have to mix some more. Unless I can make one quick enough. Be back. And we did it. It's still a little wet. It says 5-minute epoxy, but my guess is it's more like 15-minute epoxy. You didn't see me do it on the belt sander, but that's how it was done. You want to remember, the belt sander is our friend. It's not a huge bill, and it's got a fairly good angle to it. I don't want this to dive too much. When you want it to dive more, you actually put it shallower. This will just make it wobble a little bit and keep it below the surface. Remember, this is a floating lure, barely. It was driving below the surface a little bit. The Lost lure had some red, yellow, holographic type eyes. So I think I'll remake some, because I have some green and some clear and stuff, but I don't have any of that color. How you make these is having some screws and a piece of wood, and the reason that the wood is this size is so it'll fit easily in my UV chamber. And I like to make it small so that I can put a lure on the side. So I just cook it once. And then I have these holographic dots that I have punched out with a I think it's a leather punch. And I don't think they look white there, but they're really kind of a cool sort of silvery pattern that kind of changes a little bit as you look at it from side to side. These eyes are going to be half red, half yellow. And I use a Q-tip because it works just fine for this. And I can just throw it away afterwards, and there isn't a brush I have to clean. So here goes the red. Now, for a little bit of yellow on one side. Looks a little strange now, I know, but when the pupil's on, it will hide most of this. So we'll just see an outline of yellow and red. And then when the UV resin goes on, it'll make it look much less flat. Well, I've got it filed down and final sanding. This method of using baking soda and super glue is really pretty amazing. I first used it on guitar nuts. I'm a graduate of the main school of Eleuthery, which is guitar making, back in 1976, so that's a long time ago. And if you have a bone nut, where the string comes through the little slots on the fretboard end of the guitar, if you have one that's worn, the string is worn it through, so the string's buzzing. You take a little baking soda and some super glue, and you fill that slot, and then you take a fine file and you refile it. And it's supposed to be a temporary fix to get someone by for a while till you can replace the nut, but I swear to God that the rest of the slots will wear out before that one will. So for me, it's a permanent fix. It really works good. So that's where I first saw that. And the idea of baking soda, I guess the baking soda attracts moisture, and the moisture makes the super glue harden in the baking soda. So the baking soda becomes a substrate, and the super glue becomes the glue that holds that substrate together. By the way, I wasn't a guitar maker. I've made some guitars, but I have a master's in education. I was a science teacher for 30 years. Been retired for a while now, and enjoying it. Time to put on the pupils. This can be the tricky part because you get one shot at it. Or maybe two shots. Dry that up, put UV resin on it, and put it in the curing chamber. Now I'm finding that this resin is getting a little thick, and because of that, it makes a fairly large bubble. So I need to kind of put less on and try to spread it out here. Normally it spreads out pretty good on its own. Okay, in the curing chamber. As I took the scale pattern off, I just realized I forgot to drill the eye sockets. So here they are. And I've got to go with a lot more paint, so they'll get covered. Now what I've got is some pearl white, and I'm going to lightly dust the sides, and that will sort of mute the scales a little bit. Not much, just mute them a little bit. And if you can see, this is the side I just did. The scales don't stand out as much. This is the other side that I haven't done. I don't know if that shows up on camera. And along the bottom. Got a little pearl satin gold in here. And this is some transparent bright yellow. not too shabby.